Good morning. Sorry for the delay. We were just meeting with some of our future academy players out in the lobby with some parents. So it's an exciting day here for FC Cincinnati. I'm very excited to introduce to you Gerard Nijkamp, who is FC Cincinnati's general manager to help us take our club to the next level in Major League Soccer. Gerard comes from the Netherlands, the Eredivisie club PEC Zwolle, where he served as the club's technical director since 2012. Gerard was responsible for developing PEC Zwolle's playing philosophy and implementing it throughout the club. He oversaw the club's roster, their scouting initiatives, their analytics, their youth academy. He managed the technical, medical, and football staffs. At FC Cincinnati, Gerard will direct all soccer-related areas, including roster management, roster budget and salary cap administration, player acquisition and scouting, sporting data analysis, overseeing our first-team coaching staff, sports performance and medical staffs, and of course our youth development programs. In his role, he will manage the first team head coach, technical director Luke Sassano, our director of sports performance Gary Walker, who recently joined us from Manchester United, and our director of player development Larry Sunderland, who just joined us this week from Portland. And then Gerard will report to me in my role as president. He is going to be very involved in the selection of the club's next head coach, a process which is now underway that Gerard is on board. Just to give you some sense, PEC Zwolle, since 2012, when he became the club's technical director, they were a winner of the Dutch Cup, the Dutch Super Cup. They qualified for the UEFA Europa League. They had their best ever Dutch league finish, sixth there in the Eredivisie, and they finished in the top half of the league 3 times. He played at a high level in Holland, including with PEC Zwolle as a youth player. He's coached extensively throughout the world, including in Holland, Qatar, and he's been involved in coaching education on the renowned Dutch way of playing throughout the world on behalf of the Federation. He's here with his wife, Lisa, who joins us, and I can't say how excited we are to welcome him to Cincinnati. Gerard.
Thank you, Jeff, for these kind words. Thank you for having me here. I'm very happy and proud to be part of the FC Cincinnati family. I want also to thanks Mr. Carl Lindner III and Jeff for giving me this opportunity. I will put all my knowledge, experience and skills into building a successful club for this wonderful city. I'm looking forward to working together with our staff here in FC Cincinnati, create something special for the amazing fans here in Cincinnati. I was this morning started in the office downtown. Jeff introduced me with the office people. There was a very warm welcome. I feel committed already with the people over there, and it was the same when I came here inside this under construction facility, but will become in the first week of September a great training facility and complete new training facility, and we can be all very proud about that too. But I met the staff members. I did already a meeting with the players to introduce myself, and it gives a good feeling. I'm feeling very welcome, and I can give you all my effort to this club. I will give all my effort to this club and to get the club to the next level. Thank you.
Any questions? Pat?
Gerard, congratulations and welcome again. I've heard you say a couple times now that you want to take the club to the next level. Can you expand on that and articulate what your vision is for the club and what does the next level look like?
Yes, I think Cincinnati is in a very a nice timeline in the way of where they were starting first year in the MLS, to build a team, to build a structure, an organizational structure, and I come now as a general manager to bring that to the next level. It's all about philosophy, in the way the people, supporters, the business side, but also you media can identify yourself with the club and with the philosophy we want to play inside the pitch, how we want to be as human beings who are working for this beautiful club. So that's the first task for myself, to make a good scan also. Of course, we had a lot of meetings already. We will continue these kind of meetings, but I have to do also the scan now with my staff members to implement this club philosophy in a more depth way.
Gerard, I know this is very early in the process. I know you guys have had conversations already, but what are you looking for in a head coach? And I know you'll report to Jeff and talk with him about that, but what exactly, what aspects, what attributes are you looking for in a head coach that can lead this team?
Yeah, that's a good question. Also part of that club philosophy. First of all, FC Cincinnati needs a coach, a head coach, who is adapting for that kind of philosophy. Must be a fit regarding culture of the club, who we want to be in the way of do it together. Trust, that's also important points on that culture. We talked last week a lot, not face to face, but was more in the conference call we did, and we talk about potential new head coaches. I think we have now at this moment a long list with high graduated and experienced coaches on that list, and the next days, weeks, we will bring this back to a short list. We go into interview to find the good head coach for FC Cincinnati, what will be a good fit for this club. What I think is also important, that is not to feel the pressure of time. It must be the good fit. So that means if it takes more time for us to find this new head coach, we will take that time, because that is very important for the next step we have to make in this club.
Hey Gerard.
Hello.
First question, it's a two-part question, but what sold you on this job, and then what conversation did you have with your wife Lisa before you finally accepted this position?
That's also a good question. Thank you for that. Yes, it's of course, for me, a new experience. It's not the first experience to be abroad, but to be in this culture, to work in the US in a very exciting upcoming MLS, Major League Soccer competition. Yeah, that gives energy from the business part of business side. Of course, there is also a private situation, and then you mentioned my wife, and for me and my family. Yeah, sometimes in your career you have to move from the one to the other side. In this case, is that America, to find that new goal, to find that new energy. And we discussed it long times, and we had good talks about it. And both of us are very convinced that this is a very good step. And I want to thank you, my wife Lisa, for giving me also this opportunity to come here and to do this job for the FC Cincinnati.
Jeff, when did this process begin for you? You kind of hinted that maybe something was coming.
Sure.
At the last press conference we had, but
Sure.
Can you take us through the process
Sure.
and how you two got connected as well?
Sure. So when we set out on this journey, literally 4 years ago, I always had confidence that we would make it to Major League Soccer in the fourth year. And as we went from third division, second division to first division, I always knew that we would hire a general manager. Let's be honest, I was blessed to have 20 years at the Cincinnati Bengals. I probably have an easier time identifying a fullback for the Bengals than a fullback for a Major League Soccer franchise. But because we only had 277 days, there just wasn't the time to do everything all prior to. Atlanta had, I think it was 1,000 days. LAFC had 1,200 days. So they could get their stadiums situated. They could hire their GM, their coach, all their staff, get all their sponsorship deals and everything in place before they ever played a game. And that obviously was not our setup. We just didn't have the time. We made a strategic decision that we were going to make sure that we built the foundations of the club on the business side first, continuing to build the fan base, season ticket holders, supporter culture, sponsorship deals, and the like, which ultimately culminated in me hiring Dennis Carroll from Philadelphia Union to be the chief operating officer to help me run the business side on a day-to-day basis. Simultaneously, we had trust in our existing soccer staff. We went, it's the soccer staff that led us to 23 matches unbeaten last year, and we felt we could give them the responsibility of leading the soccer transition while I was primarily focused on our stadium, building out the training facility, and our business piece. The other part of that, though, was as president and GM, I was attending all the soccer meetings. MLS has chief soccer officer meetings, CSO meetings, and I was representing our club, which meant that I had an opportunity to meet with the other GMs from around the league. And, it's pretty collegial when your teams aren't playing each other. And I established relationships that allowed me to determine their backgrounds, were former players, former coaches, former scouts, former academy directors, how long, who's international, who's domestic, what structures are having success. And I learned from them. And so the intention is from last May through January, February, I'd have the opportunity to sort of collect our thoughts, discuss those with Carl. Once we got Dennis on board in January, our attention then started to turn to who's going to be the general manager to really run the soccer part of our business, reporting to me. But by that point, we had sort of spec'd out the role, what values were most important, what background experience level was most important. We started with the help of a consultant with a broad reach internationally to help identify candidates. The consultant and I, just through my trip to Europe in 2016, built some relationships. I spent some time in Holland meeting with some presidents and sporting directors there. We started to gather names. I think we had over 60-some candidates, interviewed more than 24, and ultimately came to the conclusion that Gerard is an awesome best fit for FC Cincinnati. I have complete trust and confidence in him. As my daughter Grace here will attest, I've given 4 years of my life completely to getting us to this point, and I'm really looking forward to having Gerard here to then help us grow the soccer side. Is frankly only a soccer lifer, a soccer professional, a soccer expert can do for our club, and that's what drove this process.
Gerard, you mentioned the club philosophy. What is this philosophy that you'd like to implement?
I think the philosophy at this moment, the vision on football, I see it back in the matches I saw on television. Building from the back to be dominant in your play style, so that means you want to have the ball. It's playing from the back to the attacking part, playing a certain positional game. Must be realistic, must not be the goal to play positional game, you have to play, and that's your objective, to score goals and to score more goals than your opponent, so winning games. But in that winning games, to come back to that vision on football, is more from a dominant side, so not too much in the long ball, too much from the second ball. Aggressiveness in getting the ball back, that's the second part. And winning the ball, so the transition part is to go forward as soon as possible in passing, in runnings. So a lot of energy. So there must be a fitness in the team on a high level. And I think now with the Kerry Walker, who came in from Manchester United, they're already on a good way to become the fittest team in the MLS. That takes time. At this moment, there are challenges, we know, but we have to work hard on that. And I believe that we get that philosophy in that vision of football, we can bring the team to the next level.
Gerard, I understand you'll be here for a couple days and then go back home to the Netherlands. Logistically, for you, what are the first couple months in this job going to look like?
Yes, of course, my club, PEC Zwolle, where I will resign, there is a notice time, so I have to respect that. I talk also with the team inside the dressing room. It's a little bit sad that you have to leave your club where you built everything in that club. But it is a big adventure and a big excitement for me to come to this club. So I have to do both things in a good way. To start in a good way in FC Cincinnati, and it's a pity that I have to leave at Sunday because I want to stay. But I know also when I go back why I'm going back, because there is a technical manager appointed today in PEC Zwolle. I have to help him with some dossiers about new players. Yesterday we appointed also a new head coach in PEC Zwolle. So then I can get my rest and do my full energy on FC Cincinnati. So it will be a process for I think 1 month and a half, and then I will become really visible here in Cincinnati.
Gerard, how familiar are you with Major League Soccer and how visible is it in the Netherlands?
Second part of your question, it becomes visible. We are working with Fox Sports, and every week there is one game live broadcast, and all the highlights from the other matches. And of course, we know Dutch head coach Frank de Boer is Atlanta, and yeah, that is an attachment from for Holland to be more aware of this competition. Of course, in the last couple of years, we see that the MLS is growing. It's not only players who come to play, international players who coming here, they have already a big career. Some players now, most of the players are now in the middle of their career. So that means this MLS competition is growing. And that gives also the excitement to be part of it from my side. So I think it is not a competition anymore where Europe is looking a little bit, oh, that is MLS. No, it becomes really serious, and I feel also when I talk with agents, when I talk with players, my network I have in Europe, that they are all very positive. I come here, of course, because they see also business, but they have also a lot of respect for the MLS, and it becomes more visible.
We'll take 2 more questions.
So Gerard, welcome to Cincinnati. First thing I wanted to ask was, obviously you guys are going to be identifying a head coach, and that'll be high order for you guys at the club. What other priorities, you've mentioned that you want to explore and kind of get to know the club a bit better. What other priorities have you identified early on as high priorities moving forward? Yeah, that is also what we discuss during our interview sessions. I talk always about a building, 3 building blocks in a triangle. So that means first is important the value and the quality of your first team. I have to scan together with Luc and the staff members of the recruitment, and of course don't forget the head coach at this moment, Johan. What are the qualities? What are the challenges? And what way we have to go? That is one. So that's a priority. Besides appointing the head coach. Second is scouting, the recruitment process.
I have to get an understanding about the way the people are doing it at this moment here. I will bring my expertise, how I did it in Pek Zwolle. I'm also data-driven, so I think we need guidance from data and statistics to find the good player from the profile we are looking for. And 3, and maybe that's the most important one, that is your youth academy. Why I appoint the youth academy? Because that is something also where supporters, people from the city, people from the region can identify with when a youngster is coming to the first team and they see a young talented player is playing every match for their club. So we are established at this moment with the trials where Larry Sunderland is responsible for the session, and we try to create also there a professional organization and a good structure. What is aligned to the first team. So it is not a youth academy, it is an academy FC Cincinnati where you go in your pathway through to the first team.
Okay, we have 3 more questions. Laurel, Jeremy, and we'll wrap up with Charlie.
This is, I guess, probably for both of you guys, but how will this impact Luke Sassano's job? And in the past, it seemed like it was kind of a triangle with Luke and Alan previously, and then you being kind of overseeing them. Will that remain kind of similar with now you taking that role, or is it more of a?
Let me address structure. Okay. As we built the club, we started with 6 people. When we moved into our downtown offices, we were about 30-some a year ago, and now we're over 80. Initially, all department heads reported to me, and as we've grown, it just was too much, which led to me hiring Dennis Carroll to be the Chief Operating Officer. I still meet regularly with all the department heads, but on a day-to-day basis, Dennis manages the business side, and then Dennis reports directly to me. As that has happened, as you noted, Laurel, we've had a bit of a 3-legged stool on the soccer side, where we had the head coach, the technical director, and as I served as the GM. And I always said when the technical director and the head coach agreed, they would present to me, and as long as it fit philosophy, values, and budget, things got green lighted. Okay? Obviously, what we're announcing today is a change from that. There's not a 3-legged stool. There's Gerard is the general manager, and the head coach will report to Gerard. The technical director, Luke Sassano, still the same critical role of scouting and recruitment. He's going to have some a way, as Gerard just alluded to, on how we want to organize, how we want to use analytics, and the process by which we evaluate players will be implemented. But Luke will serve in that role as a very important lieutenant to Gerard. Let's be honest, Luke has really good experience. He understands the league, he understands American soccer, familiarity with the salary cap and roster management tools. And so that'll be a very important part of Gerard's transition with our club. So Luke will still be an important part. What we're doing here is not changing Luke's role as much as we're saying, I'm best suited to be the president. And now we have someone who's a soccer professional to run that part of our business.
Maybe I can add something on that. In the way I used to work in my former club, Pek Zwolle. At the end of the day, we know who's taking the decisions, who are responsible. We don't have to explain that. But it's how to work together and to build together to something where we can, at the end of the day, very proud of. And that is also, I think, with Luke. There will be no change in the task and the work of Luke, but I have to, it's my job to get him aligned and that I take everything out of him and he takes everything out of me, so we can create a team together with the other staff members. And that is my goal, and that is always my management style who I work in every club I was now.
I just would add, I think the part of the culture here in our club is that people are completely bought into building a club and to be driven by a desire to win for our city. That's certainly what drives me every single day. That's what drives Luke every single day. That's what's going to drive Gerard. And frankly, all of our staff are motivated to build a club that wins for our city, because when your sports teams win championships, it is the best manifestation of your civic pride in your city. We're not driven by ego. And so Luke has been a tremendous team player. Johan steps into that role, tremendous team player, because all of us are bought into building and winning.
Jeff, I know you probably didn't want the growing pains, being in last place, firing a head coach, and now ultimately naming a new GM. But do you feel like the club needed some of those growing pains to kickstart heading in the correct direction quicker?
Well, let me say, I mean, I hate losing. I liked last year better. We went 23 in a row unbeaten. That's certainly winning makes believers of us all. And we were going to be sitting here having this press conference, whether we had made changes, whether we were in first place or last place. This was coming. This was always a part of the plan. We have said that for the next 2 years, our first 2 years in MLS, it's all about building the foundation, building the processes, and getting the right leadership team and staff in place. We think when you do those things, you can get results, and we believe we will get results. But right now, we are in foundation phase. The setup then is we open a brilliant new stadium, which will be the envy of the league, and we will have plenty of resources to go after trophies. That's the plan. To be fair, I alluded to it earlier. When we made the decision that we made strategically, 277 days, focus on business, let our group from, again, record-setting season last year to sort of lead the transition. We knew that, there's some leap of faith there. There's some growing pains that are going to come. But similar to with the head coach, as Gerard said, we wanted to make sure we get the right person. And we felt best served to take our time and to let me, on behalf of our ownership group and club, learn the league a little bit more, to understand who are our peers serving as GMs or sporting directors. That education allowed us, we believe, to make a terrific decision. Did it also allow some time for some growing pains? Of course. But we're in the foundation phase, and we felt the most important part of the foundation phase is getting the right leadership team in place. Get the right people on the bus. Again, I like winning a heck of a lot better. But we feel good about where we are. We feel great about our future. And we know we have the right person in Gerard Nijkamp leading the way on the soccer side.
Last question.
Gerard, obviously you believe in this club. What do you think of Cincinnati?
Yeah, in the weekend of 2 May, we were together here for the interview, and we discover the city in a way. I think it was very nice. We didn't know that, but it was the event of the Flying Pig, the running event. And my wife told me, we talked to someone in the hotel, hey, do you know there is the Flying Pig where you can join? So my wife is then very active, and so we get our license to run, and that morning we run the Flying Pig, the 10K, and we explore already the beautiful part of the city at the other side of the river. The bridges are beautiful, and of course also during the weekend we saw the neighborhoods and downtown, the restaurants, and it gives the same feeling I have in Holland, in my home city, Zwolle. That's a city, but a feeling of a village. So it's a really comfort feeling. So I have to explore more because this is the second time I'm here, but I will be a lot the next couple of weeks. And from the 1st of August, I will be here full time. And first feeling is very positive about the city.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.